Alright everyone, it's time for a rebuttal to the progressive voice. Now, I'm not sure how he's progressive based on what he's saying here, but I'm going to go through a little bit point by point. Now, he uses like the editing feature to put in clips of me talking in order to rebut me or think he's rebutting me. I don't really do that because, I'm low tech when it comes to... Windows XP editor is literally what I use for like my haunted locations videos. Surprise, that's why they're in stunning 480. So I'm not going to bother. I just got a few notes here, but it's basically on the Iran deal, and the title of his video is very funny. The title of his video is Sticks, Hex, and Hammer 666 is a Moron. Yeah, I'm going to take, therefore, everything that you say much more seriously because of such a hard-hitting title. It's not odd at all that you would say, oh yeah, here I am, I'm going to be intellectual. Sticks, Hex, and Hammer doesn't know what he's talking about. He's unprofessional, doesn't study the topic. Oh, but he's a moron, just slap that in the title. Ha, it'd be a funny one. Okay, and by the way, some of your fans in the comments section going off, it's, pretty funny. And people say that my comments areas are cutthroat. It's actually quite funny. But let me go through this. Some of the claims that he made and why they're laughable. Point number one is he's talking about this nuclear deal simply being necessary. Like, it'll keep the world safer. The world's better off without Iran having nukes. Okay, maybe so, but the thing is, the Iran deal will not actually stop nuclear development. And we can preface this on saying, look, there was a similar style of function to the deal struck between Bill Clinton, long ago, of course, when he was the president in the 1990s, which I know you don't remember. He struck a deal with the DPRK. They have nuclear weapons, but they had a deal. Inspectors were allowed to go in and do inspections. They were only allowed to enrich it to a certain level. There was guaranteed, look, they signed a paper. And then they fucking ignored it. This one is even weaker than the North Korea deal, though. Thank goodness I don't actually believe that Iran is attempting to obtain nuclear weapons. I think that they're using it for energy development. I think they're doing what the North Koreans didn't do. They feel safe enough under Russia's sphere so that they're not too worried about the U.S. unilaterally invading them like North Korea might with their weaker relationship with China. That's why I'm not worried. You're attempting to insinuate in your video that I'm simply apologizing for Trump. It's not an apology. I really honestly don't think that Iran is attempting to gain nuclear weapons. And it's not warmongering when I point out that if they do, they'll be destroyed. I'm just making a statement of fact. And you're invoking mutually assured destruction, by the way, without even understanding what it means. Do you even understand the difference between a crude prototype style, maybe atomic weapon that Iran could develop, any time now, and the kind of thermonuclear weapons Israel provably has? Pentagon report from the mid-1980s said they have a large stockpile of multi-stage nuclear weapons. We're not talking about grandma's atomic bomb. We're not talking about the sort of weapon that kills a city. We're talking about the sort of thing that renders most of an entire metropolitan district utterly uninhabitable and then sends a wafting cloud of radiation 100 miles downwind. There's a big difference between the two. Israel has enough of such weapons, according to the Pentagon, to wipe out basically every significant city in the entire region. Trust me, you have to assume that the Iranians are insane if you think that they would assume it was a good idea to attempt to outmaneuver Israel when it comes to nuclear weapons. Again, not saying this as a warmonger, saying this as someone who's simply being pragmatic. That would make them an insane actor, like the claim that's commonly made about Donald Trump, oddly enough. I do not consider them insane. And if they are, then they're probably insane enough to ignore the nuclear deal. What exactly in the nuclear deal keeps them from enriching something to a greater degree and then just moving it? Anything? Anybody want to raise their hand and tell me exactly what guarantee we have of that? Then you talk about, well, the U.S. was just giving them back their own money. It's not, Obama didn't send them crates of money that belonged to the taxpayers. He sent them their own money. Yeah, okay, so somehow we had a bunch of Iranian cash laying around. Okay. It's not 100% how an embargo works, but okay, whatever. That's practically a non-issue. Your claims, as well, it seems like you're attempting to insinuate that I was exonerating Netanyahu or didn't have a problem with him, didn't take his threat seriously. I think Netanyahu warmongers for political reasons. I think primarily he'll conduct a few strikes, like I think it was 2006 he destroyed a reactor in Syria or something. He does this to get reelected. He's a dictator, basically. He gets people paranoid and afraid. Oh, the Iranians are going to get you. Assad is going to get you. There's someone else in the region. The Pakistanis are coming. The Russians are coming. It doesn't really matter who it is. He drums up the threat of some form. It's like the Palestinians are going to get you. And then he uses that to get reelected. There's a rhyme and reason to why he does this, but that doesn't mean he's actually going to haul off and attack Iran preemptively. And by the way, if the Israelis do, then Russia might get involved. They'll get their shit kicked in too, and I wouldn't think that we should defend them. No, I wouldn't want to get involved in such a conflict. I think there's a difference between an ally that acts in a sane, benevolent manner and one that, annihilates another country, primarily killing civilians. So far, though, that hasn't happened. I am optimistic that there won't be war with Iran, primarily because of Russian involvement and because I consider the Iranian government fundamentally sane. You have to believe they're insane to think it's a good idea to develop atomic weapons. It wouldn't give them an advantage over Israel. It would take them 50 years to develop a stockpile the kind of which Israel already has. And the Israelis have already said, hey, Samson option. If it looks like we're going to get hit by anything, we're just going to wipe you off the face of the earth. It's a terrible thing to have to say. I don't agree with it. I think it's butcherous and insane. It would be a better world if people weren't like that. But that's the way that it is. We have to see reality for the way it really is. So between your dismissive, oddly enough, title, the fact that you apparently don't know what I'm actually saying, and the fact that you don't even apparently know what mutually assured destruction is, why should I take your video seriously? Are you doing this for attention? Well, okay, you got a morning video response. Well, yeah, I guess that you win on that count. But I don't even believe that Iran is seeking nuclear weapons. If I did, yeah, strike some sort of deal. It'd be a wonderful thing to, prevent proliferation. But it has to be a deal with teeth. Congress needs to codify it. Not just something that Trump can come along and tear up unilaterally, because that's what he did. Nope, no more Iran deal. It was just an executive action. It was basically Obama saying to the Iranians, hey, we really don't want to go to war. Will you please agree to let inspectors in and we'll give you some money and take this part of the sanctions off and stuff. It's not going to prevent nuclear development if it's actually going on. It just won't. That's pie in the sky. That's the sort of logic the UN uses. We all know how effective they are. Didn't work in North Korea. If Iran wants atomic weapons, it won't work there. Now, what'll end up happening there is a regional nuclear conflict. Sad as though it is to say. And U.S. troops, by the way, will die in the process. It's not like they're not going to get hit. Like Iran, it wouldn't target other bases within the region, fearing its own imminent annihilation. Of course they would. They'd fire off everything at that point. And who could blame them in a way? Yeah. People always talk about the threat of Iran. Oh, we develop nuke stuff. I thought the progressives generally were dismissive of the concept that Iran was an insane actor, and generally said, hey, that's propaganda. The Republicans are just trying to justify attacking them. The nuclear deal doesn't prevent that either, though. If Lindsey Graham, you mentioned Lindsey Graham, John McCain, some of the more notorious warmongers in Congress. Yeah, fuck them too, of course. But that doesn't mean that you don't have a Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton said she would bomb them too. Oh yeah, if they get too uppity within the region. Yeah, of course, I can be just as violent and regrettably nasty as the big boys. It's basically her campaign pledge of 2008. She said the same thing. Obama probably would have said the same thing under enough pressure. There are plenty of Democrats that say Iran is axis of evil mode. By the way, you're basically parroting Bush. You're looking at them as a one-dimensional state that is crazy enough to try to proliferate atomic bombs just to prove that they can, thinking that it'll be a deterrent. It wouldn't be a deterrent. It's not mutually assured destruction. It's like the North Korean nuclear deterrent. It wouldn't be mad if we went to war with North Korea. No, they'd try to fire nukes at us. They would fail. Most of them probably wouldn't get off the ground. Yeah, we'd get hit, but we'd still be there. They wouldn't. It's not mutually assured destruction. It's a nuclear conflict. Unfortunately, that could happen. I would agree with you totally if you said it would be unfortunate if that were to occur. Absolutely. But I don't think that it will. It's not me being dismissive of the concept of war, being pro-war, or making excuses for Trump. It's me saying I don't see the threat here. Sorry, Iran is no North Korea. They don't have nuclear weapons. They don't even have, as far as we know, they have never made a specific concerted effort to refine uranium to the degree necessary to make even the most primitive, like a Hiroshima-style weapon. Until we get such proof, and Netanyahu's wall of CDs, to me, is not proof of fucking anything. Until we get proof of that, I don't think we need to take any action. We don't have a nuclear deal with any of these other countries that have nuclear energy. We don't sit there worrying, oh, is Egypt going to develop nukes? Well, you just send more inspectors and give them money. Is Turkey going to develop nukes? You know, there are dozens of countries in this world that don't have nukes right now. They're capable of developing them in short order. Saudi Arabia can literally order them from Pakistan as part of a nuclear deal they have for financing their atomic program. Turkey, Egypt, Brazil, which I think had a nuclear program and dismantled it, actually. South Africa did the same. They had nuclear weapons. South Africa had a small stockpile. They ended up getting rid of them. Poland could develop nukes easily. Ukraine could probably do it. Yeah, it's within their technological capability. Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, any of the halfway decent Southeast Asian states. Vietnam could grab them. The Philippines. Hell, Bangladesh could start an atomic program. It's possible. we don't sit there worrying all day about them, so why do we sit there worrying all day about Iran? I don't understand it. That's my basic point. That's about all. Peace out.